What's up, everybody? Matt Kajeski here, back again with the Odd Shopper channel. And today is Saturday, March the 11th. Conference tournaments are finishing up. We've got the semifinals and the finals in a bunch of different conferences, and we're going to be talking bets for all of them. Before we get started, make sure to hit that thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you know when this and all other content goes live. And if you're listening on podcast, please leave a rating and review. That helps us a ton, and it is much appreciated. We are brought to you guys today by DraftKings Sportsbook, and they have a no-brainer offer for you guys that's only going to be available for a limited time. Right now, you can make a $5 pregame moneyline wager on any team of your choosing, and then if that bet wins, you are automatically turning your $5 into 150 automatically. All the bet has to do is win. My recommendation is going and finding the biggest favorite, betting them on the money line. Today, that is Houston taking on Cincinnati. As it was yesterday, we did the same thing with Houston. And if you did that, you got $150 automatically. Spread's a little tighter today because, again, we're in the semis in the conference finals championships of most of these leagues. But Houston still looks like a pretty good bet here. They're minus 500 on the money line. That's a number we'll take for sure. You can take advantage of this by clicking the link in the video description below. And one last thing, DraftKings just went live in Massachusetts. Congratulations to all of you guys that live in Massachusetts. You just got sports betting. There's some additional offers there. For example, if you just go and make your first deposit of $5, you're automatically going to be credited with $200 in instant bets. So there's a lot of stuff like that. If you're in Massachusetts, make sure you take advantage of the additional promo offers that DraftKings is offering. They're awesome. And congrats to you all. I'm very, very jealous being a Wisconsinite myself. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, please call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. The legal age for betting in most states is 21 plus. All right, we go on. Yesterday was a pretty solid day. Ended up in the green. The video was good. To recap briefly, we were on Alabama, Indiana, and we were on Arkansas, which was the lone loser. Had a bunch of things off the board, too, that were talked about in other pieces of content. So overall, slightly profitable day, but nothing to truly write home about or praise on this video. But let's get into today's picks. This is an awesome day of basketball, competitive all around. The widest spread is 9.5, so you're going to see some legitimately awesome ball today. And first bet we're going to talk about is in the Pac-12, where we have Arizona taking on UCLA. And before I show you the graphic, our graphic we usually use, I want to take you to Odd Shopper, where we can shop this bet. Unfortunately for me, I mentioned at the beginning of this show that I live in Wisconsin. I cannot shop these bets. So I had to take Arizona as a pick'em. But love to go over on Odd Shopper, see where the money is going and where we can find the best lines. You can still get Arizona plus 1.5 on DraftKings Sportsbook. Maybe if you're in Massachusetts, this is the bet you take. And in most places, they're a pick'em. So there's a bunch of reasons for this, but essentially what the Odd Shopper models do is they backtest all the data, find the efficient books, give you percentage win, percentage ROI on your bets, and then they also identify the best place in the industry to take advantage of these bets. And for those of you guys out there, there is a 7-day free trial for this. Again, my recommendation throughout all these videos has been time this strategically. Use your free trial when you get the most out of these bets. So either start today to take advantage of the conference championships today or tomorrow, or wait for the start of March Madness when you get the most games. You're going to get player props too. We have a separate video for those. I actually do it on this very channel. So the best bet today is actually Bruce Thornton from Ohio State. Perhaps we'll talk about that later, but Arizona is going to be the first bet we actually dive into. So I just want to show you the best place to find it. And without further ado, let's actually bring you to the graphic that I make personally. I know it's really sophisticated. We'll bring you behind the glass here and talk Arizona UCLA. So mentioned briefly that I had to take this as a pick. I'm so fine with that number. This UCLA team is battered right now. So they lost Jalen Clark at the end of the year, starter for them, plays meaningful minutes. Last night, they lost Adam Bona on the interior. I don't know how severe his injury is, but he only played 18 minutes. Injuries have been really tough to gauge in this tournament. some of that being players like Armando Bacot are just warriors, but we've seen players get through them, play through them. Bona is important to this UCLA team, especially going up against Arizona. This UCLA team does not have a ton of height. They're 143rd in overall height, and Adam Bona is 6'10". He plays in the interior. This team has not been getting good minutes out of Mac Etienne or Kenneth Nwuba behind him, which means, if Bona misses this game, they might have to play Jaime Jaquez as the small ball 5. He's 6'7". They've been playing, like Jalen Clark and David Singleton at the 4 at times. Those players are 6'4" and 6'5". This Arizona team has the twin towers of Omar Ballo and Ozelis Tubelis on the interior that are just going to absolutely wreak havoc on this team if Adam Bona is out. And if he's limited, that's potentially a problem as well. And it's a shoulder injury for him. It's going to affect a lot of different things on the court for this team. So right away, injuries are an issue. Not to mention, David Singleton's also playing banged up. He ended up playing in yesterday's game, but he was questionable heading in. Arizona's just much healthier right now. Kirk Kriisa looks like he's over his injury. And when you actually dive into the stylistics for both these teams, the margins are pretty thin to begin with. I mean, Arizona's 13th in offensive efficiency, UCLA 49th, Arizona's 68th on defense, UCLA 3rd. These are really good teams across the board. So anytime you remove players from these rosters, it's going to be important for these teams. And you can actually quantify this. EvanMaya.com does a great job with player ratings, which is something you can just go and look at in the rankings. And for UCLA, when you look at Bona specifically, he's the second best defender on this team behind Jalen Clark. So we've already lost Jalen Clark for the year. Bona, second best defender on this team. How good is UCLA's defense at this point? They're 3 in the country, but in the last 3 games, they've lost their 2 best defenders. They're legitimate questions. So Arizona as a plus is a dog. I'll take that any day. And I also took it at a pick'em, which was the only line available to me. So props to Odd Shopper. Get that +1 if you were in a legal state. Game number 2, we're going back to the good old Indiana Hoosiers. They treated us well yesterday, and we're going back to them here. This is essentially a sell high, buy low situation. We're selling a little bit high on Penn State, and we are buying low on Indiana still. I think there's a really good argument, again, that Indiana is the best team in the Big Ten when they're fully healthy. Now, they won't have Xavier Johnson. He's just flat out for the year, which is unfortunate for this team. But they got Race Thompson back. He fouled out of yesterday's game, playing 18 minutes, so props to you, Race. But the game before that, he played 35 minutes. So when he's on the floor, that's really important. And Indiana has a massive height advantage over Penn State. Indiana 132nd in height. Penn State is 331st. They're one of the shortest teams in the country, which is interesting because Penn State has actually been pretty good at defending opposing height throughout the year. But this is still a team that's been absurdly lucky. If you go and reference shot quality, this team is 21-12 overall. Their shot quality record, which grades every single shot taken on the floor, gives you a win-loss record and a score. They should be 15-18. They should have lost both of their tournament games. They had a 24% chance to beat Illinois and a 20% chance to beat Northwestern as they head into this game against Indiana. Meanwhile, Indiana is elite scoring both on the interior. That's a massive advantage they do have over Penn State. And then if they decide to, Penn State that is, potentially dedicate extra resources to defending Trace Jackson Davis, they have awesome shooters, Jalen Hood-Schifino being one of them who's playing out of his mind recently. And these teams did match up once this year. Penn State won that game 85-66, but shot quality actually had this as a win for Indiana at 68-64. It's one of the biggest upsets we saw all year in shot quality's metrics. Not to mention Xavier Johnson and Race Thompson both didn't play in that game. Now they'll have back Race Thompson. So Indiana -3. Think this is a gift. And I'm not sure it's going to take money because of how crazy the Penn State run has been recently. And I'm a believer in Penn State. I think they should be absolutely admitted into the NCAA tournament based on what they've done on the court. But with that said, I'm also an analytical person, and looking at the numbers and how gnarly their regression numbers are, I think it comes to an end here against Indiana. We'll take the Hoosiers -3. Last one, we're going to another wagon we've been backing a lot recently is UAB. It's another situation where it's a buy low, sell high, and man, is FAU a sell high. If you look, we'll talk about the numbers that we just referenced with Penn State. But first of all, this is a very competitive game. It's a pick 'em or I got UAB +1, thankfully, but it's -1 in some spots. I bet it again as a pick'ems. I think you can still find that number, but in a lot of spots, it's UAB -1. I think all those numbers are fine if you're not really comfortable with it at the current number. Money line, I think, is okay too. It's essentially these teams are both, I think, basically carbon copies of each other in terms of efficiency metrics. I think UAB is a little bit underrated when they're 36th offensively, 57th defensively, mainly because they didn't play with Jelly Walker for a stretch of the season, and that obviously hurt them. But this is a team that has good height. They're 75th in height. FAU is 282nd in height. These teams are both good at rebounding. UAB 7th. I mean, that makes sense when you're very good in terms of your height. FAU 22nd in rebounding, so credit to them. They're not the tallest team, but they still hit the glass really hard. But overall, when we look at these teams, they played a couple really close games. UAB only lost the first by 2 points. That was on the road, and they won the second pretty resoundingly too. And that was one where Jelly Walker came off the bench. He was just returning from injury. He played terribly in the game. He was 2 of 10 from 3. Now they have him basically humming, and this team is as hot as they come, just coming off a win against North Texas. And the one thing I'll say here is when you look at this record, we talk about Penn State's negative regression and what they're due for and how lucky they've been this year. FAU is another one of these teams. They're 3-30. Their shot quality record based on every shot they've taken this year is 22-9. And again, this is college basketball. You're going to have teams that have positive luck variance. You're going to have teams with negative luck variance. It's just the way it goes in college basketball. It's why it's such a fascinating game and why we truly love March Madness when it is upon us and the chaos that it brings. But again, we're buying low on UAB after the Jelly Walker injury. We're selling high on a team in FAU who should have a worse win-loss record than they currently do. And we'll back UAB plus money, pick them, or if they're a slight favorite, think that's fine. Money line also in play. But that'll do it for us today. We've got an awesome slate of games. Let me know what you think about these picks and any others on your card. I would love to hear it in the comments section. Or if you'd like to reach out on Twitter, I'm available at Matt_Gajeski. Always willing to chop it up there. And we'll be back again tomorrow, closing out the conference championships. Then March Madness, full swing. We'll have it all covered. Make sure to check that out. And until then, we'll see you guys next time.